I am actually with a guest in the studio, and that is CEASAR LUPAI, who is an activist and also he advocates for women's rights. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lady Kapoki. As you put it right, I'm called CEASAR LUPAI. I'm a community gender activist advocating for the rights of women and girls, and I'm based in WOW. So I just came here a few days ago. Of course, this is a season for activism, and then we started in WOW. And when I'm here, I'm also thinking it is a business that I have to get involved in. So I'm here today to talk briefly about gender-based violence as we commemorate 16 days of activism, especially today being the last day of the 16 days of activism.
So it happens every year, and it happens, of course, from 25th of November to 10th of December every year. So this year, what have you done that that has contributed to the 16 days of activism, or something that is different from the other years? What progress do you see?
Great. Unfortunately, this year, the commemoration has been sort of interrupted or disorganized by the COVID-19 pandemic, but still that cannot mean we can't do anything, because advocacy and raising awareness about the rights of women and girls, it is a continuous thing, whether we are in a normal situation or we are in emergency. Still, people need to get messages. People need to hear information so that they can be able to live safely and be able to take care of themselves. So during this time, we adjusted a little bit, not like the previous years in WOW, but still we're able to conduct a major activity on 25th, which is the launch, and then followed by some other activities which are done by different actors, different organizations in their respective locations. Yeah.
All right, then, of course, unfortunately, this year was interrupted by coronavirus. So I would say that it's really different from other years where you could actually do so much as compared to this. But I see you've released a song, and it talks about 35% for women.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, this song dated back to March this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah, it was meant for Women's Day, International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And this was a call for the 35% affirmative action for women. So we are looking at the participation of women in decision-making processes, in other ministerial positions, in managerial positions, be it in the public sector or in the private sector, even in the humanitarian bodies. So we're looking at women should be given a space. Women should be allowed to participate in leadership position so that they can also contribute into the Millennium Development, which is the global development goals. So women play a key role in this regard. Yeah. So this song basically is calling on everyone to give a woman its space, even at home. Even at home, we should also value the contributions of women in our different settings, be it at home, be it in the school, be it even in the church. So it is a call for everyone to respect the rights of women and give them a chance to participate. Yeah.
So, of course, this is the question that maybe it is already self-explanatory, and because of everything that is happening, but I would still like to ask you, as a man in South Sudan, what made you feel the need to advocate for women?
Okay. Thanks so much for this question. There is a perception, which I can call it a perception now, because it depends on how people view it. In most cases, people think men, which is actually true to some extent, men are the majority people who are having powers, which is a reality. Most men have powers. Most men are in decision-making positions. Most men also perpetrate violence. You see that? So most of violence that are happening in our society, in different communities, different locations, most of these violence, according to records, according to research, according to statistics, shows that men are the majority perpetrators. But again, men can also be agent of change. We can even turn the narrative. We don't have to view it only from the negative side. But if we need to turn the narrative, we can also look at not just men, majority perpetrators. They can also be agent of change, and that means we can engage men, we can involve men directly with the powers that they have, the resources that are in their hands. They can also be able to contribute into ending violence against women and girls. So having thought of that, and being a man, I took it to myself as a challenge, committing also to stand firm and then use what I have to contribute into ending violence or reducing violence against women and girls in my community and in South Sudan as a whole.
Yes. So what would you say so far has been the biggest challenge as a man that is trying to fight for change and advocating for the rights of women and girls as well? So what is the biggest challenge you have faced during this journey?
Well, there is, because we are talking about this, the setting where we are in, like the cultural setup, you know, according to our cultures, different cultures. I'm not trying to condemn our cultures at the moment. I know there are some cultures which are good and which should be promoted. But again, there are some norms, there are some traditional practices that always affect our performance even as men to do certain things. Like a man, according to some cultures, a man cannot cry, a man cannot cook, a man cannot wash, a man cannot, all these things. You see that? Now, being a man, if you now try to do this thing, to say, okay, I can also cook, I can also wash, I can also do this and that, I can bathe the children, I can stay with the children. You see, other men around you will start calling you names. You see that? Maybe they can say like, you know, his wife must be controlling him or something like that. And then if you also want to speak about the good thing that should be done to women, then there definitely you will face some resistance in the community. So this is one of the challenges that is facing men who are trying to balance the equation, who are trying to say there's also another way of doing things, not just like always we have to stick to how our cultures and the tradition positioned us to be like. So this is one of the challenges that I have faced. Even sometimes on social media you find that the comments that people normally put, you know, there is still that kind of attitude that men should always be above women. So this is a belief that is there. It is deeply rooted in our cultures and traditions, and it is one of the biggest challenges that we are all facing together in this fight. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think is actually something very, very interesting, because sometimes you find that some of our cultures here don't really help us so much in the fight against women and girls. So of course we would like to thank you so much for stepping up and trying to be different.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. So of course we still have to do this I still have a few questions for you, because as we commemorate commemorate the 16 days of activism today, it's very important to know what do you think we can do in order to prevent the GBV in our community?
Great. Thanks so much. You see, the national theme for this year has said it all. The theme itself is very comprehensive. What does it say? Keep the promise, invest, prevent, and respond to GBV. If you're able to consider the significance of all these 4 key elements from the theme itself, that means we will have upper hand to end violence. Keeping promise, I know it is a bigger thing, but we can break it down, like coming to investing. Definitely, most of us over the few months or even some years back, we know that child marriage is an issue already in our country. There are many children, school-going girls, who cannot now go to school because they are either pregnant or they are forced to marry at that early age. You see that? So it is a problem. But again, another way of ending this child marriage or of mitigating it or bringing it down is when we keep girls in school. And you know, keeping girls in school also means giving some money, and that's already investing. You see? So investing here, it is a key element, and it is a call to all of us, men, boys, women and girls. With the men, we happen to be the fathers of these children, of these girls. We happen to be the uncles. We happen to be the elder brothers who are sometimes making decisions that are not favoring these girls. So investment doesn't mean only you give money, but again, you also need to consider those ideas that you can give or those decisions that you can make in order to have impact on the life of someone. If you're able to give someone right decisions, right guidance, then you're also investing.
Yeah.
But most of it all, we need to allow girls to go to school. We need to contribute into funding them, into supporting them, like giving them school fees, giving them upkeeps, giving them books, stationery, scholastic materials, and even giving them time. Time also is an investment. Yeah. So if you do that at home, we can be able to have a bigger impact in the lives of our girls. Coming to prevention is a bigger thing. It is everyone's responsibility. But here, for the sake of this show in particular, I want to focus on the role of men.
Okay.
You see, while we brand men, as I said before, as perpetrators, they can also play a bigger role here. I'm looking at men challenging themselves, challenging their attitudes, and they're saying, since I have this power, the power which is given to me by our culture, by our tradition, maybe the society, maybe the education that you have, maybe the job that we are having, you know, all these resources. These are all sources of power, by the way. If you have money, you have power. You have any type of resource, you have power. And even by virtue now, most men are the ones owning lands, for example, owning gardens, owning animals, owning all these livestock and so forth. These are all powers. So if we can use that power to support, not to perpetrate violence, not to encourage someone to suffer, that way we can be able to make right decisions that can support and that can encourage our women and girls to continue living a life free of violence. But again, it is not an easy thing as such. It is about like living what you used to do, which you enjoy most, then deciding that no, I have to do it in another way. What does it mean? It means those things that you used to do which are more enjoyable to you, so long as they are the things that are causing harm to someone, leave them, then come and do the right thing. It is not easy, but that is how we have to try. We have to challenge those attitudes, then we have to see how we can be able to do the right thing for the people around us. Thank you.
Oh, that's one of the ways in which you can prevent
exactly.
GBV.
Yeah.
All right then, and what is the trend that is the trend of sexual gender-based violence and the occurrence before and during Corona?
Great. I hope you're not asking about figures here, because I can't be accurate enough to give you figures. But I want to say, before Corona, yes, there used to be violence. Violence has been there according to records, according to reports, different sources. But I can say during this Corona, it has increased. It has increased. Why? First of all, you look at like schools. Most schools have been closed already, and girls are not going to school, so they are redundant at home. You find that. And then they are not busy. Because they are not busy, now they have time to socialize with, you know, the boys, for example, the youth and other people around. And this also exposes them to what? To start doing things that maybe can lead to violence. Number two, even they stay at home alone. It is a pressure in the house. There are some needs that they need to be provided. And again, sometimes these things are not there. And it is also a challenge. Then, you know, gender-based is all about gender-based violence is all about if something is done against your will and that can cause you harm, and then it always depends on power dynamics. Like the person who is perpetrating it, in most cases, has power over the person to whom the action has been perpetrated. This may not only be like maybe physical. I know most of us think GBV is only physical beating or this domestic violence thing. But again, what even can cause violence? Now you see at home where girls are there and then they don't have, their needs are not provided. And then sometimes it is even causing them a psychological kind of disturbance. So sometimes they can ask for their rights, for what they need, and then it is not given, or somebody words are spoken at them, then that continue to stress them or to cause them some kind of depression. So this also results into violence. For the sake of women, in most cases, you find that during COVID-19, men are always there around. They are at home, for example. Now they don't go out, and then because they are always there, they are closer to each other all the time. There is a possibility that violence can come. Because, when we are far, sometimes we avoid this kind of challenges that might come. But again, because we are near, you find maybe there are no services at home. Maybe there is no money. Businesses have been shut down, especially men who used to do business. Now, this man cannot provide for the family, and then the family still need to be provided for. Then maybe the wife can ask for something. It is not there. When you don't have anything, sometimes you become, they say, a hungry man is an angry man, isn't it? So if you don't have anything, someone coming and asking from you, that makes you even more angry. And then from the other side, depends on how the person receives. If they don't receive it in a good way, then that definitely can lead to what? To quarrel, and then hence violence can come in. So COVID-19 has contributed in a lot of ways. And one of the forms of gender-based violence is denial of resources, because you don't have a source of supply, so you cannot be able to provide. And this is also like a violence. Then it makes someone maybe to feel bad, to feel depressed. So all these things come as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I can say before COVID-19, yes, the trend was there. The prevalence was there, but not so high. But during COVID-19, things have increased because of the reasons I've mentioned and many others that I've not mentioned here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, CEASAR LUPAI. If you've just opened your radio and you're joining us on this very important topic, and of course we are talking about gender-based violence, and of course our guest in the studio is the one and only CEASAR LUPAI, who has been an advocate for women and girls as well, advocate for their rights. And of course we all know that when it comes to gender-based violence, it's the women and the girls that face the hardest, the consequences the hardest. But then, do you think in one way or another, when the women are affected by this, it somehow comes down to men? Men also get affected in a way or another? Because we're looking at who faces the consequences hardest, women and girls.
Yes.
But does it somehow simmer down to men one way or the other?
Exactly. From the definition of gender-based violence, it affects everyone. We say this is an act or behavior that cause harm to someone, be it a man or a woman. Yeah. Of course, without the person's a will, without a consent. Now, that means a man also can suffer from consequences of violence. Okay. A man can suffer from consequences of violence in so many ways. You see, for example, I want to look at the positive side of it. Why is it a concern for men? Like when our wives are at peace, for example, when our sisters are happy, when our daughters are happy, we have a happy family, right? So when you have a happy family, that means people in that family, they become very productive, especially the wife or the mother. Now, if your wife becomes productive, for example, then you benefit because she can also be able to support you. And for example, if the wife is like having stress all the time because of fight, because of conflict, because there is no peace in the house, even you, the man, you are affected. Sometimes you come home, first there is no food, isn't it? Sometimes you come home, the house is disorganized. And sometimes children even are running all over the compound, and then nobody is putting things in order. I'm not saying that is the work of a woman to be doing all the time, but I'm saying in the event that there's a violence in the house, things don't go well. And when things don't go well, even we who are men, we suffer a lot because you are not at your best position to be able to focus on what you're supposed to do. Then you again come and start from zero, start putting things together. And when even you say, oh, to hell, I don't even care about that, that is where things will now go from worst to worst. So we are also affected. We are affected by men are affected by all the forms of gender-based violence. So that is why it becomes a concern. It becomes a concern for us to focus on stopping it, to look at preventing, to look at not perpetrating it, so that we also get the benefits. Because when our women are not affected, when they are in their state of peace, we also benefit. And when they are not in a state of peace, we also what? We suffer.
We suffer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lupai. We are having the one and only, and that is CEASAR Lupai, and he is an activist. And of course, as we commemorate the 16 days of activism today, we have so much to discuss when it comes to gender-based violence against women and girls. And of course, the question also remains not just to CEASAR Lupai and to me, but also to you, the audience that is listening to 99.9 FM right now. And what have you done in these 16 days of activism as well? You can maybe call in and become part of the show just by dialing on the number 0922-990-990. That is later on. I'm going to keep the lines open, and also you'll be able to win yourself a t-shirt, and that is if you answer a question correctly. We have so many t-shirts for you, like the one if you're watching on Facebook, then I'm seeing you can see the t-shirt CEASAR is wearing. We have these t-shirts for you here in the studio, so you can win yourself one. You can also win yourself an umbrella or a cape. So many things we have here for you later on when you're able to answer any of the questions that we shall be asking. All right then, of course, what are the possible causes and preventive measures that you think we can take during this pandemic? Because you said you can't really accurately give a number as to what happened, but what can we do to prevent it?
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for this question. In my presentation, I've been mentioning men and boys, men throughout, because I know it is also a concern. It is a concern for men. GBV is not only the issue of women alone. So it also concerns men, both in preventing it or in ending it, because the consequences also affect men, as I've just mentioned before. Yeah. Therefore, one of the key mechanisms for us to prevent it is working with these men. I know in most situations we have several NGOs, CBOs, even the government and the international communities. They are trying their best to involve most community groups or the community leaders in active discussions, so as to discourage such abusive behaviors. But I want to make a point here of how we can take it upon ourselves. For example, me as CEASAR, what am I doing? What am I doing that is perpetrating violence, whether in my home, within my community, people around me, or at the greater level of the society? And how can I maybe come out of that? You see that? So it is a personal commitment, and it is going back to our attitudes. So it is a matter of saying, I personally commit not to do violence. And that you can only say, for example, if you have access to doing something, then you can also use the same powers that you have to also decide to do something positive. Yeah. So let us focus on us not harming our sisters, making right decisions for them, not to push them to marry when they are still young, supporting our daughters, not to push them also into marriage, even our wives, making sure that we provide services for them, and we also involve them whenever we need to make decisions in the house. That's very important. Involving our partners, it brings a fruitful and a healthy relationship. And when we are always in discussions in our homes, we can really mitigate or even end such conflicts. And then when we we do that, we are able to eliminate violence in our houses. So we have to be making decisions together, discussing things together, and sharing our issues together at home, including even the matters of the house. You know what I mean? Including sexual affairs. Because one of the many types of GBV right now, which is actually alarming, is rape. And rape doesn't only happen outside. There's also what we call marital rape. It happens even in the houses, in our bedrooms. I mean, and according to records also, some of the perpetrators, they are within the homes. They are our uncles, they are our brothers, they are our fathers, they are, you see, people who are around us. That is why it is difficult sometimes to report even. That's why some cases go unreported, because you feel like, now this one is my brother, maybe is an uncle to the survivor. How will I report him? You see that? So these are the things that are happening. So the best way for us to do is to challenge ourselves, our attitudes, our behaviors, so that we do things that can really promote someone, that can support someone, make someone feel good rather than causing harm on another person. Thank you.
And when it comes to, of course, now what you're mentioning earlier, that some of these things actually happen in our homes, and what happens in the case where a woman or a girl reports a rape case and she doesn't get the help she expects to? Or when she opens up, because our society sometimes doesn't really take rape very, how would I put it, technical, like they don't really, people tend to hide rape cases instead of being very open about them.
Yes, and that is why during this 16 days of activism, we are trying to kind of increase awareness, increasing awareness to make people know their rights. You know, some of these things happen because people don't know what they are supposed to do. You just find yourself like, this thing happened to you, you can say, it has happened, so what can I do? Let me just live, let me just continue, life is going on. No, my dear, you have a right to report so that you can be supported. The idea of reporting is not only just to make news out there, no. The reason is so that you can be supported, you can be offered services, because this GBV, once it happens, like rape for example, it has consequences, and some of these consequences are fatal. They are not okay, they are long lasting. So when you report, you can be supported, services can be made available for you, you can be encouraged. Then again, I want also to reiterate a point on the side of we, the community members, we who are there around these survivors, we who are there at homes. We should not make it difficult for GBV cases to be reported. We have to encourage. If something happens, for example, don't discourage the person. Don't talk behind the person. Don't make it difficult for the person. Instead, you have to support. You have to give a helping hand. You have to lend a helping hand and support this person so that she can be able to get courage and then move on with life. You know, sometimes when we don't support these people, that is where they feel stigmatized, they feel isolated. Then they can continue living in that kind of psychological disorder, for example, and even sometimes can lead to suicide. You see that? But when you're able to support someone from the initial beginning, this person can surely recover and can be strong, and also can encourage other people. If something happens to them, they can come and say, I have to report. Last time so and so was supported and now she's okay. Mine, I cannot keep it here. I must report so that I can also be supported, so that I can feel better. You see that? So it is a two-way. If you're a survivor, something happens to you, come out, speak about it so you can be supported. In the community, please, if something happens also, support the person, encourage the person, don't talk bad about the person. That way we can be able to like reduce the greater impact of it. Thank you.
So I think this is one of actually the strategies that some of the community response strategies and how effective they are.
Yeah.
This is one of them that you have mentioned. Yeah. Do you have any more to mention? And what do you think that can be done to reduce the occurrence? Like, how is the community? What are the community response and strategies that are effective? And if not, what can be done to reduce them? And of course, you mentioned that what you've just mentioned right now, you have said that we can do it as a community. We have to help them, not talk behind their back, or all this stigmatization and doing all these things. So I think that's one of the strategies we can use.
Yes.
But what more do you think we can do to help them?
Well, I know there are multi-sectoral approaches when it comes to response, when it comes to responding to cases of gender-based violence. It is not only one service, but there are different services that are required by a survivor of gender-based violence. And for this purpose, I can use rape as an example. When someone is raped, the first thing is medical attention. And then, of course, we know that as the person seeks medical attention, it is because of the time factor here. When medical service is provided in time, like for this purpose, I can say 3 days for the sake of rape. This one can kind of prevent other STIs or other infections from taking place within the body of the survivor. Then when that is done, that is not the end of it. And also, before I go to the second part, it also prevents pregnancy from occurring. As I said, the consequences of GBV can be long-lasting sometimes. This person maybe was raped, she can be able to conceive, right? So when she conceives, you can imagine living 9 months with the pregnancy that you don't even know the father of the baby. That's what I mean. And if this baby happens to be born, you're raising up a child who doesn't have a father, the impact will just continue. But for us to try not to make someone go through this, when you seek medical attention, then you can be given a support so that pregnancy will not take place. This is different from abortion. This is not abortion. It is like preventing pregnancy before it takes place or it occurs, right? So this is one of the ways. Then, looking for medical attention, as I said, while we do that, again, this person is already disturbed psychologically. It's not actually in her mood. Then there are so many things going around her mind. So here, she also needs another type of support, which is psychosocial. She needs someone to talk to her, someone like to guide her, to encourage her. It's all about encouraging someone. And here, it is not like a specialized service here. You see that this one, even the community can provide. People who are at home can provide that. People who are just around her, like friends, like relatives, all these can be able to provide that kind of service. We don't need really a trained people. Apart from the health, we don't need a trained people to provide this service at this level. Then, if it's someone who really knows her rights, then she might also need to, for example, if the perpetrator is known, then she might need also to get her justice, She might also need to be supported. Some people really may not know that if something happens like this, it is my right to go and report, right? So here you find that we need the police to come in, and also we need even the judiciary, for example, to come in. These are all support systems that we need for the survivor of GBV. And on top of that, also the safety of the person is very important. The safety, we need to make sure that this survivor is secure, because if this perpetrator maybe intended to do that, maybe he can come back again. Sometimes, because now he knows that this person is going to report him, so for him to clear evidence so that he will really not be convicted or be marked as a bad person, he might even try to come and clear her. You see that? So we need safety that should be provided also for survivors of gender-based violence. Before I conclude this point, I want to mention the point of how we can all provide social support to survivors. It is our role as community to take that. We don't need to be trained on it like such detailed training, but we can always encourage someone. We can always stand with someone to support this person, either by referring the person to where she can get services or by talking to her in a nice way. This way we can be able to reduce some consequences of violence. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you so much, CEASAR LUPAI. We've learned so much from you. And also, it's been amazing having you here. We would, of course, love to hear more from you, but because of time, I think we'll have to be able to conclude. But before we conclude, we're going to be asking our listeners to participate also in the show. And you mentioned it earlier when you were talking. There's something that you mentioned, and I think that's the question that we're going to get our question from there. Yeah. And also, but before we move to the listeners, is there anything else that you also feel like should be taken to note, or people should know about the 16 days of activism so far?
Yes. Fortunately, today is marking the end of the 16 days of activism. But does not mark the end of raising awareness. Does not mark the end of offering services for survivors. So we should continue raising awareness, advocating people to know their rights, and even to know where to report and when to report. This is a very important component of it, so that we can at least rescue someone even beyond these 16 days of activism. We continue to support the community. If you already have information, that means you have power. If you already have information, you can already decide, you know what you can do. So this is very important.
Yes. All right, then, of course, we have people that are following us from Facebook, and we are going to, we would love to also make sure that they become part of the show. We have, before I mention them, of course, I think we can give a caller a chance, but we're going to ask a question, and that is, what is the theme for this year? Earlier on when you were talking, you mentioned the theme. We're not going to give them the answer now. If you answer it correctly, you are going to win yourself a t-shirt like the one CEASAR is wearing, or you can actually win yourself an umbrella. You can also win yourself a cape just by answering this. What is the theme for this year? So go ahead and dial on the number, which is 0922-990-990. If you're watching us live on Facebook, you can also drop it in the comments, and then you come and collect your gift. Okay. Alright, then الرقم هو نفسه اللي هو 0-9-22-990-990. Advance, hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Santino from my seminary.
Santino from seminary, you're welcome, Santino. Have you been following the conversation? Have you been following?
Yes, I followed. Even I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And also I did my research also in gender-based violence.
Yes.
When I was in second year.
Okay. All right. Then are you going to answer the question?
Sometimes also I like to contribute, and I like also to encourage also my friends and my neighbors. And even also I use also to teach some people also.
Okay. That's awesome.
So I'm really very happy, and the way he put it also is very nice.
We're having CEASAR LUPAI. He was the one giving us all the information on gender-based violence.
And even sometimes I tried to look the place where they are, but I could not get. So
the place, the place where?
The place, their office. I want also to join, but I don't know their place.
Okay.
The office.
All right, then I'll ask CEASAR to give you some information on that. All right, then I think people also who still want to do the good fight, they would of course wonder how can they help. Is there any practical way they can help? Advance, hello?
Yes, hello. It's Santino once again. I need a question for a t-shirt or umbrella.
Okay. The question is, we were asking, what is the theme for today? What is the theme for this year's 16 days of activism?
You said the theme?
The theme, yes, the theme for this year.
The theme he has said before that, but I did not grasp it well.
Oh.
He said, let us rise up so that to...
Is that the theme, CEASAR?
Sorry?
I'm asking CEASAR if that's the theme. Is that the theme?
Yes, Santino, can try again.
Try again, yeah. This is not the correct answer. Sorry, Santino. We mentioned that there's a theme for this year. Before we give you the answer, of course, we're going to give a chance to you to answer. Earlier on, when CEASAR was talking, he said this year's theme is something very, very important. So maybe if you know, try your luck, and then you can win yourself a t-shirt like the one he's wearing, or you can win yourself an umbrella and also a cape. All these gifts are right here on 99.1 FM. Just answer the question if you've been following the conversation. And the question is, what is the theme for this year's 16 days of activism? What was the theme?
You are listening to 99.9 Advanced Youth Radio.
Advance, hello?
Hello, Antoine.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Hello?
Yes, hello. Advance.
You're talking to Zakaria.
Zakaria.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Zakaria.
The thing for this year is to keep the promise, protecting, respond, and reporting against gender-based violence.
Caesar, is that true?
This is Zakaria.
Yeah, Zakaria, you tried, but there is something that you didn't say it. Maybe can you say it again, please? If you're still online.
The promise. The promise. By protecting, responding, and reporting against gender-based violence in our community.
All right, I can say that's a good trial, but not to the point.
That's
Sorry.
All right.
No problem. Then he's almost, but then he missed something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're almost there. I know if you call again, maybe you'll.
You're almost there, but he just missed one thing. We're going to give one more caller a chance, and then the number remains the same. It's 0922 990 990. You can win yourself a T-shirt. Very nice. We have a variety of colors. You can also win yourself an umbrella. You know, these days it rains a lot, so yes, you can just use an umbrella. Advance, hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm doing great. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is
You're welcome. So, you know the theme for this year?
The theme for this year?
Mm-hmm.
I hope the theme for this year is the awareness of gender-based violence, whereby there must be a good responsibility in the house, whereby the parent can live without disturbing each other and doing all the home affairs equally without discrimination. This is a woman or this is a lady or what?
That's a good try, but Caesar, what do you think?
I think the same. He tried, but he didn't go through.
That's not the one.
Yeah.
All right, then. So sorry about that. You can still, I think we can give the answer. Yeah. So the thing for this year is?
The theme for this year is the national team for South Sudan is keep the promise, invest, prevent, and respond to GBV.
Almost close to the ones that Karim
Exactly.
said.
That's why I'm saying he really tried, but unfortunately, only one item or two.
Yeah.
He didn't mention
He didn't mention, but he came close.
So what do you think?
I think he tried. Next time, we need to be very accurate. We cannot miss the point.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, then. It's been amazing having the one and only, and that is CEASAR LUPAI. Thank you so much for being part of the
CEASAR
show.
LUPAI.
CEASAR LUPAI. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And of course, we have on Facebook people that were sharing as well. We have Lazarus, and Lazarus said from Gudele, and he said, hello, regards to you, Kafuki Jada, and CEASAR LUPAI. Indeed, gender-based violence must be stopped in order to build a healthy society.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lazarus.
And we also have Malish, who said, I appreciate LUPAI so much for always being the voice of the women. My regards to him. If we need to change the stereotypes on gender, we need to change our approaches by putting men as the center of everything, by involving them, because most sexual gender-based violence are being committed by men on women and girls.
That's correct. Thanks so much, Amalish.
Yeah. And he also said it will be good if this message goes out in Arabic Juba so that it covers a wide number of audience.
أنا بحاول دور تاني ممكن بيتكلم بعربي جوبا عشان كمان ناس كتير بسمع. شكرا.
فعلا ده كلام صح. All right, then for now we're going to be telling you goodbyes in case there's a message you'd like to give us as we wrap up the show.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kafuki, for hosting me. To conclude, I just want to repeat some of the things that I have mentioned before. Maybe I put it in another way. Like, when our wives are at peace, this I'm talking to the men, when they're in a non-violent state or environment, we who are men, who are the husbands, we also benefit in return, because they can be productive, they can focus, and then they can also support us. And that is where, when they say behind any successful man, there's a woman. That woman should be the one who does not go through violence. For her to be able to make you successful, then you have to make sure that she is staying in a non-violent situation. She's not subjected to violence. Then I also want to say, while the society, the people around us think men as perpetrators, we are not only violence makers. I'm not justifying our actions, but I'm saying we are strong agents of change. So we can change the narratives. We can be strong people who can be able to support women and girls. So gender-based violence is not only a woman issue. It is our concern because it affects us. It affects our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, and people around us. So we should try to be accountable to ourselves, to our actions, so we can be able to find a solution to this problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, CEASAR LUPAI. Till next time.
Thanks a lot.
All right.